Well, hello, and welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast. Join me, Sam Harris, on my journey of curiosity and growth. I have conversations with some of the world's most fascinating humans, from billionaires to Olympians, and most everyone in between, such as suspiciously happy people and even a hitman. Success isn't just for successful people, it is earned, and you can earn it too. I find out how ordinary people become extraordinary to fuel your own growth mindset. Today, I'm chilling with Josh Lee, the co-founder of Northern Bloc, a truly delicious ice cream company that is rapidly expanding here in the UK and melting hearts and minds with it. The podcast today is gelato fun, and you really will want to hear the full scoop. Northern Bloc focus on real ingredients, which is super cool, and they also have an extensive vegan range which I highly condone. On the show, we waffle on about how Josh ended up starting the business with his co-founder, market testing the product to find the customers' favourites, the many mistakes he made along the way and keeping control, lessons in hiring the right talent for the business to build a truly cream team. He teaches us that yes, anything is truly popsicle, and yes, you can do it. The show really is a cracker, and today's forecast is funny with a chance of sprinkles. So, without further ado, on to the show with the man himself who puts the chill in Netflix and chill, the magnum in business magnum, and the dairy in legendary. It's the cream of the drop, Josh Lee on the mic. Well, welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast. My pleasure to have Josh Lee, who is one of the co-founders of Northern Bloc, a vegan ice cream company who make delicious ice cream that has been delighting people in Britain for a while now. And who knows if they'll be getting further sometime soon. But you're on the podcast to talk about your experiences and what's going on with the business and world and life at the moment. So my pleasure to have you.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
I like to start talking about just a bit of your background. If you could kind of give me a 3-minute intro to who you are and what you've been doing with your life.
Yeah, so I currently live up here where the business is based in Leeds. I've been in Leeds for 12 years or so now. I actually grew up on a farm in Bedfordshire. Grew up living on a farm, being part of the farm, kind of worked in farming in my kind of late teens and summers in between university. So I kind of always had that kind of farming and growing kind of like an innate part of your being, which you just kind of grow up with it. And obviously spent my whole life there. Went to university up in Newcastle and studied rural estate management, very different to running an ice cream company. But then met my now wife at university, and she was from Leeds, and we moved back to Leeds. And obviously part of moving here was with her, but my business partner also lived in Leeds and worked in Leeds. And the story there is a strange one. He is older than me, and he used to work on our farm when I was about 4 years old, and he was moved over to the UK from Australia and lived and worked on as a kind of farmhand back when he was kind of in his teens. So obviously we kind of got on really well and kind of obviously had known each other for back when we were small, and families knew each other well. So got on really well. He sold that business in the kind of summer of 2014, and we decided that we would kind of set up business up together. I obviously wanted to get away from kind of corporate marketing side of things. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. And he had obviously been doing it for a long time, and he had sold the business. And so we just decided to do something completely off the wall, different. He had a great love of ice cream, and I had a kind of great love of food, and obviously growing and making and that side of things from childhood and growing up. And so we randomly kind of just decided to make an ice cream company. Although we didn't at the time. It wasn't let's make an ice cream company. It was more let's buy an old van and see if we can do some street festivals. We thought, wouldn't it be great to spend a summer at festivals with an ice cream van? And that was the kind of birth of Northern Bloc.
So you, we're just kind of going to festivals, selling ice cream, and you then decided to nail in on like a specific niche of like doing vegan things.
We're predominantly a dairy ice cream company.
Oh, crap.
When we started, we knew a guy in Leeds who worked in a restaurant that we liked, and he was making weird and wonderful ice cream flavors. And as we kind of found, a lot of the perception of ice cream is it's that kind of dinner party afterthought at the back of the freezer where you pull out the tub of whatever that you've had in there for ages, and you kind of dust it off and it's that kind of like last minute addition. Or when you're out for dinner, you have a lovely apple pie with ice cream and it's just, something cheap that the chefs have got out as a kind of an accompaniment. And the chef that Leeds that we were kind of working with at the time was making these amazing flavors using just natural ingredients and anything that we could get hold of. And it just really kind of opened our eyes to the possibilities of what ice cream could be. And at the time, how underrated it was, and how certainly in the UK, it's like 10, 15 years behind the rest of Europe and most of the world with ice cream, in that, we had grown up on Mr. Whippy and having it during summer and at the seaside, and what is effectively kind of cheap vegetable oil based ice cream. And really what we were kind of seeing and what we wanted to do was to take fresh natural ingredients that you can forage or pick or buy in your local market and turn that into really high quality ice cream. And that's where my kind of real interest and love of it, which was obviously growing up on a farm and having, our farm over the years have produced loads of different vegetables and grains and things like that, was why in ice cream was it made with preservatives and flavorings and things which had no relation to what they actually were saying they were on the tub. So why weren't there strawberries in my strawberry ice cream? Why was it a strawberry flavouring? Why does the banana ice cream look strange fluorescent colour and the mint chocolate chips bright green? Well, mint's white. So I don't know how they're getting that colour. And so we were really interested by it, and we kind of felt like there was a bit of a niche in the market. A lot of inspiration was kind of taken from people like Covent Garden Soup, which back in the day kind of really changed the soup market in terms of people were having dried soup, cup of soup or tinned soup, and they took fresh vegetables and turned them into a healthy kind of nutritious soup, and everybody went mad for it. And the same with ice cream. Why couldn't that happen in ice cream? Why couldn't ice cream just be about really great quality ingredients? And so that's what we started off doing. We go to Leeds Market super early in the morning, fill the car up with punnets of raspberries and strawberries, and we'd go to Roundhay Park, which is a big park in Leeds, and sorrel and collect our ingredients where we could naturally, which was fantastic, and started making some really, really amazing ice cream with flavours that were different. We wanted to be really different. We wanted to make flavours which no one had seen before, and flavours which really kind of captured like people's imagination in food. So we're obviously, as the rest of the UK were, kind of watching Great British Menu and MasterChef and seeing all these like amazing ingredients. But actually, when you went to buy ice cream, you got strawberry chocolate vanilla. So we wanted to kind of turn our flavours into something that were really different. And then we're selling them at, going off to kind of street food events and festivals locally to Leeds and Yorkshire and selling it. And the response was just awesome. People just went mad for it. And so it really kind of gave us that initial excitement that we could be onto a business or we could be on something that people are actually interested in buying.
So what were like the most popular flavours that you tried?
When we started, we made hundreds and some absolutely grim flavours and some fantastic. Some of them from those really early days are still on our core menu. So a black treacle flavour, really simple, but obviously not one you see in ice cream, but black licorice flavour in it and that kind of burnt sugar. Raspberry and sorrel, so the raspberries that I used to buy from the market and sorrel that we used to forage from Roundhay Park. Raspberry and sorrel still our main kind of sorbet flavour. Ginger caramel was another one, so we used to buy stem ginger, juice it and add it to a caramel base. Still a flavour that we make today. There were some grim ones as well, some really grim ones. So banana and parsley. That was the worst for me. Banana and parsley. Don't know why we ever decided to do that. But the street food side of things was brilliant because I was in the van every day and you got instant feedback. So we were making them in the night or early in the morning, going out to an event, selling them, and people were telling you there and then whether they're nice or not. So it was a great way in one getting kind of feedback, and it was a good way to start. Just didn't make any money.
But did you cover your costs to do the research kind of thing?
Yeah, I did. It was so naively kind of went into it and obviously didn't know anything about the ice cream market or food production or pretty much anything to do with it. As you know, obviously the majority of that kind of outdoor eating ice cream in the UK is in the summer. So yeah, we did great in the summer and then it was kind of dry up in the autumn and you start thinking of what to do. But we quickly started selling to local restaurants and anywhere in our kind of local region that would buy it and quickly kind of diversified what we were doing.
That's useful. So do you think if you were to start again, you'd still do the same kind of process to sort of get that feedback? Or do you think you'd sort of just try and make 100 flavors, turn up at a store once, get the feedback, and then just go straight to like production or something?
We still do a lot of pop-up events and sampling with customers and stuff like that. And there's no better way to get good, honest feedback by just going to an event and selling it. What it did also kind of critically do for us, which was it demonstrated to us why lots of people aren't making really high quality natural ice cream with fresh ingredients, because it's pretty hard to do. And we hit all the issues that someone doing it in that sense would, and we hit them head on. And a huge bit of faith for our business came in our kind of early in our second year, that if it hadn't happened, we definitely wouldn't be here today. One of the things that, you know, if you're make ice cream at home, or if you're a chef and you make ice cream, you have kind of shelf life for 3 or 4 days. And so when we were making ice cream and obviously going to events and selling it, the shelf life was really low. You know, we weren't worried about shelf life because we were selling it so quickly. But when we started selling it to local restaurants and cafes and stuff like that, all the problems of making kind of very artisanal home style ice cream came to the forefront, which is it splits. So even though it's in the freezer at -18, it can still split. So we were getting complaints very, very quickly, as we soon realised that naively we didn't know how to make ice cream at all. And yes, we were making kind of great home kitchen ice cream, but we weren't able to make a commercial ice cream. And in our second year in 2015, we were at a food festival, and this Italian guy came up to our stand and tried the ice cream and said a few things in Italian and kind of disappeared, and that was that. And then 2 weeks later, we got a CV through, and he is a 4th generation Italian ice cream maker who just happened to be over visiting his sister who lives in Harrogate, and they were out for the day and saw our van, and he was looking for start something new and different, and ended up joining us, and is now one of our directors, and has completely revolutionized the science behind how we make the ice cream. So it's allowed us to make a product with all the ethics and the ethos of what we originally set out to do. So using strawberries, using raspberries, using fresh ingredients, but with a 12-month shelf life and with the consistency week in, week out for someone who's buying it, which is absolutely key, and allowed us to really transform the business from an experiment or kind of a bit of a pipe dream at festivals into actually a commercially viable business with a future. And he's still with us today, and he designs and makes all our ice cream.
I was lucky, but I guess, you know, you've got to be out there to make these things happen. How, what did he actually do? Do you have like some additives and stuff then, or how did it make it longer shelf life?
He had a shop in Italy, and obviously kind of post-recession, I think he'd worked there for quite a long time. His family, you know, obviously been 4th generation ice cream makers and sellers in that town, and so he just had enough and wanted a bit of a change of scenery. But he specialised in making a base. So obviously with your ice cream, when you make ice cream, you have stabilisers that bond to the fats and the liquids that makes it stable over time. So when we were making it in our kitchen beforehand, we weren't stabilizing it very well, because obviously one strawberry's got a different amount of sugar and water to another strawberry. And so if you're not bang on with the science and the amount of how you stabilize it, then it's going to split. It's kind of like baking. It's that kind of scientific pastry view on it. But obviously most ice cream producers will use artificial stabilizers, and they'll use kind of preservatives and emulsifiers, which normally from our natural sources, and effectively putting lots of what are monodiglycerides and fatty acids into the product to try and stabilize it over a long period of time. Whereas he specialized in doing the same kind of mechanics that those things were providing, but doing them using natural ingredients. So it allowed us to make a purely natural product using fresh ingredients with the ethos, but because they had the same mechanics, we were then able to make a product that was comparable from a consistency, quality, shelf life point of view as the kind of the market. And really, there wasn't a lot of people doing it, if any. So, really gave us a niche and an edge that you were going to chefs and restaurants and offering them chef quality ice cream that was probably better than they can make it, more consistent than they can make it, and effectively cheaper than they can make it week in, week out. So for most chefs in the UK, with flavours which were unique and looked great on a menu because we were designing them with chefs in mind, was a kind of no-brainer for a lot of those places and a lot of those chefs that they could buy something that was, they'd want to put their name to. And that really, I'd like to say that we researched it and knew that we were doing that at the time.
Amazing. The show today is brought to you by Praxis, a legitimate alternative to a college degree. They'll get you a great job without the cost, basically. Praxis is a 6-month course in skills that you need to land a job in marketing, sales, or operations. And graduates from Praxis get a starting salary of roughly 50k after graduation normally. And you pay no fees until you're hired. So I just think it's a really good way to get an education without all the costs. And I really believe that education is hugely overpriced, and like a college degree doesn't even teach you all the relevant skills that you need anyway. And it's much better to spend that time in the job earning money than it is being away from the things that you're going to be doing, and you're just kind of wasting your time at a college paying crazy fees to learn out-of-date style information that you don't really need. So I'm a huge believer in proving your skills by doing rather than saying, and a formal education means that you have a document that says you might be good at something, whereas Praxis gives you the time to actually do the things that show you are good by giving you experiences to learn from them. You can find out more on their homepage, discoverpraxis.com. You can also get a free ebook about Praxis to find out if this is the kind of thing for you at discoverpraxis.com/show notes. So that was Praxis, a legitimate alternative to a college degree.
Cool. So how did you then go on to like scaling? So were you still making it at home when you were selling it? And then how did you go about like getting commercial kitchens?
But yeah, we had a little industrial unit in Leeds. That was pretty rough and ready. And we bought some kind of small second-hand equipment. So we were making 7.5 litre batches, so really small batch-made ice cream. Our batch size now is 600 litres. So when I look back at it, it was very, very small. And yeah, just kind of making it from that. And then we spread. We got the unit next door and knocked through and put a freezer in that side, storage freezer, and did a lot of our own distribution. So I was, amongst other things, the delivery driver, and would spend most of the back end of the week driving around Leeds, Yorkshire and surrounding area, delivering ice cream to customers. We were still doing a big kind of event calendar within the year, but yeah, the business kind of just scaled naturally. I mean, we, rightly or wrongly, foolishly probably, went into different markets all at the same time. So obviously we were making the kind of 5 litre catering size for the food service market from our local restaurants, and then spoke to local theatre and they were like, oh yeah, it'd be great to have it here. So we put it into 100 mil, spoke to a farm shop. They're like, oh, we'd like to sell it, but we need it in 500 mil. So we did, kind of naively made a retail range. And so before we knew it, we were operating in 3 kind of sectors, which, looking back on again, it's 3 times as much packaging, 3 times as much effort, storage, buying power, but did allow us to kind of diversify our streams of income quite quickly. And so whereas if we were just doing summer-based stuff, you have a great summer and then it all kind of dries up. But the theatre side and the restaurants, obviously, were really good at Christmas because everyone goes to the theatre at Christmas for Panto and obviously just other shows. And obviously restaurants are super busy around Christmas with Christmas parties and that build up. So it allowed us to kind of flatten out the income for the business, which again, just seemed normal to do it that way at the time, but kind of looking back on it now has allowed us to have kind of much more stable business in terms of where we see our income coming from and not just relying on bumper summers to see us through the pain of winter.
That's interesting. So how did you then go about doing that?
Obviously, with everyone in small businesses, cash is king and cash is pain. We were quite fortunate. We had some angel investors fairly early on who have kind of helped and supported us throughout the process. From a financing point of view, we've done 2 rounds of crowdfunding now, which has been brilliant actually. We raised the first lot really, really quickly. We're really surprised about the kind of response from people. And for us, kind of the crowdfunding side of things was kind of twofold. We wanted to raise money, which is key, but also to have a group of people who are, invested in the business and who are an eye out for it and we can go to for questions and ideas and support us in other ways, just apart from financing. So yeah, it was an important part for it, and it funded quickly, and we've got kind of 250 investors. So our Block 250, who recently, again, as we funded, have been great for that. So, yeah, I mean, the financing side of things has been always the hardest.
Yeah, was it a hard process the first time writing a business plan, or was it quite easy with your business partner that had already done all that?
We've written lots of business plans. And when you look back on, you think, oh, great. We'd seen that one out. We'd be millionaires and we drove in Ferraris by now, which we're not. But yeah, it was. I mean, a variety of business plans always a really good time to kind of reflect on direction and what we're doing. And actually, the ice cream market scene has really changed over the last 5 years. It had a huge boom. It's had kind of two booms with some great summers as well. Obviously, the rise and now falling fall of low-cal ice cream with Halo Top and people like that, which I'm sure many people have seen and tried. We avoided that, and I think we were right to do so because low-cal ice cream is falling off a cliff at the moment. We've actually had developed for a long time, knowing that food trends were going to change. And it kind of goes back to those kind of farming days. And interest in it is that sustainability of our planet is so key at the moment and only going to become more important, is that we need to look really seriously about our food chain and where we get our food from. And, you know, obviously with us in lockdown at the moment is again a kind of highlight on our supply chain and where it comes from and how we get hold of it. And that was a real emphasis for us developing our vegan range, which we launched a couple of years ago, grew and is still growing massively quickly. Now makes pretty much up half our sales, or just under half our sales. We only sell vegan in retail, so in our supermarkets we only sell vegan now. As we saw, you know, ice cream's obviously a highly competitive market and you're up against the Unilevers, Nestle's and General Mills of this world. So we wanted to really pull on our resources, which is, you know, really strong expertise in ice cream making with Manolo. Manolo developed a range of vegan ice creams which were unique to the market, again, using only natural ingredients. But we really, I think, you know, a lot of vegan food and, you know, non-dairy food for so long had kind of tasted like cardboard. You really compromised on flavour and quality just to be able to kind of tick the vegan box. And as we've all seen, the boom of vegan food and non-dairy eating now is just absolutely colossal. And we kind of backed that horse a couple of years ago and has really paid off. And so, yeah, as I said, you know, it's something that we sell a lot of now and we've just started exporting it.
What do you put in it? How do you make it still taste good?
So we started off making it with a rice milk, which was the reason for doing that is it had a much lesser kind of base flavour. So often if you buy like a coconut base ice cream, you get the flavour of coconuts really strong and overpowering, whereas rice has quite a low base. And now we don't use rice anymore. We use a pea protein and we use a tapioca starch. But again, it's changing rapidly with what products are more available, which are more sustainable, and which kind of provide the functionality of your dairy and your cream in the best way possible. I think we see there's definitely a market for both. But we just want to kind of grow and build the business in the most sustainable way possible for both, obviously, the business itself, but also the planet. You know, a kind of keyboard warrior about it. You know, we are really passionate about it. I'm really passionate about how we produce food and how it's valued and where it comes from, and then how that translates into food manufacture and the way that we design it and package it and sell it. And so for us, I think there's definitely a market for both. But it's just about making sure that we're doing it in the best way possible. But, you know, flavour is absolutely king. So it cannot compromise. And we kind of feel with our vegan range is that we're producing a vegan ice cream that doesn't compromise at all on flavour and taste. And actually 9 times out of 10, you can't tell the difference. And so we see now most of our customers that are buying it, you know, 100% vegan, they might be flexitarian, or, you know, a lot of our restaurant side of the business, food service side of the business that's buying it, put it on their menu just as the core ice cream, but they can feed everybody with it. And I think that's a real plus point. We load some onto some airlines, and again, you know, anywhere that's got kind of limited storage space, and a plane is one of them, is give them the ability to serve something to everybody that's on board without having to, you know, dairy free and you want an ice cream on an aeroplane, you were just told it wasn't possible. So hopefully we're kind of unlocking that ability to be able to provide someone with a great quality natural ice cream that just happens to be dairy free.
Exactly. It's nice for these things to be like the default. See, this kind of grows. It's definitely good. Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, how did you go about like making sales? How did you first get in touch with like restaurants and then like reaching things like being in supermarkets and airlines and stuff?
The grind. As I'm sure lots of people have done before, it's a grind. So from the street food, we had a lot of people, kind of chefs coming up to us saying, oh, I love it. Can I buy some for the restaurant? And then, you know, from the beginning, we did a lot of door knocking, driving around Leeds, York, Yorkshire, anywhere that we could get to, Manchester, and door knocking with samples and going in and trying to sign them up. And we kind of soon realised that obviously we couldn't do all the delivery ourselves, and we started supplying wholesalers. And I think the proposition for us that was really key is that we weren't a diversified farm. We're an industrial unit in Armley, in Leeds, next to a canal, opposite a prison and across the road from a sex shop. We are definitely different to most other ice cream companies out there that kind of have rolling hills and a cow on the front of the tub. And we wanted to keep that difference. And I think that allowed us, again, to really differentiate who we were and to be different branding and different proposition allowed us to do that. And naturally, people were kind of drawn to it. We kind of had quite a big social media following, and that's something we focused on a lot of, which has really helped drive kind of interest and sales within that. And then we've been really fortunate. We built a really good, strong team around us because we certainly didn't know what we were doing. And they've brought expertise from different areas. Someone who's working for, ex-wholesale world, who's joined us and has built our food service side of the business. We've had someone who's ex-supermarket world who's come in and helped us build our supermarket side of the business. So yeah, it's just, you're part of that kind of sales rat race. And for us, as always, it's that kind of big education piece. It's trying to get loads of customers. We supply places like the Ritz, and they get it straight. They know what they're looking for and they know the quality that you're making. But, often it's an education piece in terms of on the phone, or you're knocking on someone's door. It's just another ice cream company. So you really just, our big thing is just get them to try it. And it often and soon becomes clear what's different and why they should be buying it.
So when it came to recruiting people, how did you go about finding specific roles? Did you just have someone to help with our wholesalers and then you just luckily got someone to apply that had the experience, or did you kind of headhunt specifically?
When you start off, you end up just doing everything. I was ice cream helper, delivery driver, head of sales, everything else. And there's, you get to that point where it's just clear that there's an area of the business that's getting neglected or not working because you just don't know what you're doing. And then we've been very fortunate. We've had some fantastic recommendations from people who we just knew locally, and they've put us in touch with people who have ended up, joining the business. Our head of marketing, Lena, worked with us in the job before the ice cream. So she came with us and kind of design side of the business. So that was, great to bring her with us. And then, obviously Manolo knew someone who joined us, and he's been works in production, and he's been there right at the beginning. So yeah, I think just some's been headhunted, some's just been fluke, more fate, or whatever you want to call it. Some people haven't stayed, but I think the core business has been really strong, and it's good to see that a lot of that hard work has paid off. Now, obviously, with lockdown and all this uncertainty, you don't know, which is really frustrating, and I just kind of feel sad for them because they put so much hard work in, and we had such a fantastic kind of first couple of months to the year that it really was off and running, and now obviously everything's on pause. But as before, just really happy that everybody's healthy and safe and sound, and we're very lucky, but we'll just have to see how it pans out later on in the year. Again, we're not reliant on the summer so much as other ice cream companies might be. So if the summer does pass us by whilst we're unable to get out there, we do have, other elements of the business. And we've been fortunate. We've just started to build up the export side of the business. So looking at vegan ice cream and vegan food, it's not just in the UK where it's growing, it's globally. And, with us making something that really delivers top end taste, is that we're looking at who else around the globe can buy it. And we've signed some people up recently. So we'll see how that does. And we'll come out of it.
What's sort of your favorite question to ask people to kind of work out if they should be the right person to work with?
It's a good question. Again, also we had a good start to the year and we were interviewing a lot of people. And so my best one is tell me about a time in which you were wrong. And then one of the things I was told to keep an ear out for, if it ends up being a blame game or, this person did that wrong, then they're not right for you. But actually the people that we interviewed recently had some really good answers to that. So that's always a good one. I think that's certainly something for us, is that we've made mistakes week in, week out since the very beginning, and certainly don't profess to know everything about running an ice cream business or even a fraction of that. And so I think certainly being an entrepreneur and setting up businesses is that you really have to make mistakes and make lots of them, and kind of identify when you have them, not be too proud about learning from them and trying to not make them again. And we're very conscious about creating a culture with the team in which mistakes can be made, and I'm very keen on people taking the initiative and trying things out, and certainly want to create an environment in which people can voice ideas and voice their thoughts about what we could do better or do differently or do some other way. And if that's not right, so be it. But at least you tried, because you can't always just have the engine room from people who found it. You need it across the board. So yeah, we've gone down rabbit holes and we've done things wrong. Back when we made banana and parsley ice cream, that's a terrible mistake. But we just hope they're not going to be too big in the future when they get wrong. But yeah, I think it's always a good interview question.
If I asked you to tell me about a time where you were wrong, what would be like your best answer?
So we obviously do a lot of trade shows, and we were at a trade show early on in Harrogate, Find the Food Show. And this guy came around who was dressed in like a tracksuit and like trainers on. He just looked like really scruffy. And I just didn't really give him much time of day. And then half an hour later, I went around to like the kind of middle of the trade show, and there was this guy sat in the middle of the panel as the head buyer for Selfridges. And I just absolutely kicked myself as like, what an idiot. I should never have prejudged someone. So now at trade shows, whoever comes up gets whatever they're wearing or look like, they get the same treatment as anybody else. And I think that's really key, because a clever buyer will go to the trade show and make himself or herself kind of look conspicuous so they can go around without getting hassled. And yeah, I fell hook, line and sinker for that one.
Good lesson. So what do you think is like the future of ice cream like in 5 years' time?
That was a great question. This period of lockdown is like a good time to do a lot of reflection. I think that as a world population need to look at food differently and our diet makeup, how much we eat of it. And obviously the rise of veganism and, you know, the big driver behind that is not so much animal welfare, but it's more about people, flexitarians, looking at how they change their diet and how much meat they eat and where that meat comes from and the sourcing of that. And so I don't think that's going to change. I think that how we grow our food and where it comes from and what countries and how much of that we eat and the value that we put on that, you know, lots of food has been far too cheap for a long time. And so I think over the next 5 years, you know, ice cream's no different to that. I think it falls into that category as well. So I certainly think that dairy-free vegan market will continue to grow and to differentiate. I think certainly this whole lockdown and coronavirus has kind of highlighted to us is that businesses need to be more diverse and not rely on certain formats. And obviously home delivery on food is huge at the moment. Ice cream, unfortunately, really suffers with home delivery because it's frozen and it needs to be kept at -18. So, you know, frozen delivery on ice cream is really difficult. Being able to design something that can be accommodated in that delivery method would potentially be a great route. So yeah, I think it's going to keep evolving. I definitely think that appreciation of ice cream and appreciation of quality and the appreciation of the attributes that go with that is only getting more and more. So 5 years ago when we set up, it was fairly low, and over the last 5 years, it's definitely got more. And I think obviously having a more diverse UK, which is great, has brought people in from other countries where ice cream's huge. So if, you know, you're coming from Germany where the ice cream, you know, 12 months of the year, and they'll go out after dinner and have ice cream like 11 o'clock at night, you know, more people from Germany in the UK or from Italy or from France or from wherever, gives that kind of richness in terms of what people are more prepared to go and do. So that kind of blending of cultures. So I just think that, yeah, I think ice cream will keep evolving. I think that the beauty of ice cream is that it's a blank canvas. Certainly when you've got really good expertise and understanding of the science of it, and, you know, we're very fortunate at Manolo in that we've got that, it really allows you to be quite open-minded about what you want to design and, you know, what sector is it going to fulfill and what boxes does it tick. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of stuff in the pipeline at the moment, which is really exciting and very different. So yeah, I think sustainability for me is our key one, and how we make it and what value we kind of put on that is really important.
Cool. Good to get a bit of an introspective view from your mind, and sounds pretty accurate. I definitely think that's kind of where things are going. The world's definitely getting more artisan in terms of like the amount of craft brewers and these kind of things going on, and the vegan side of things is certainly growing, which is good, because I think it's hard to be completely vegan, but so many people are very open to things that are vegan and as good if they can get them accessibly. They're people are a lot more open to try these things these days, as people that manage to make them not crap.
We do see ourselves as an artisanal company making, you know, semi-commercialized ice cream. It is the absolute key, and all the kind of data that we get and look at is that taste is still number one. So we've got a much more, you know, food in the UK over the last 25 years just transformed. You know, the rise of the celebrity chef, Jamie Oliver, Gordon Ramsay, food shows, British Menu, all that kind of stuff has just completely changed our societal outlook on food. And number one for that is still quality. You know, with your craft beers and stuff like that, you can only kind of repeat purchase the ones which you like and which deliver on flavour and value as well. You know, value doesn't mean cheap or price. It means what you're prepared to pay for the quality that you're getting. I think that's absolutely key. So, and something that's always an absolute driver is that it must deliver on flavour and it must hit taste and stay kind of abreast of trends which are coming through. And, you know, we're really focused on making something that yeah, it does tick the vegan box or the dairy-free box or whatever box it might be, but it also has to really, really taste great. And if it doesn't pass that test, then it needs to get shelved.
Cool. So final few questions. What is one of your earliest memories?
Yes, good question. Looking out over the farm when I was about probably a year old, my mum went back to work and I got put in a tractor with my father and kind of went to work with him on the farm when I was kind of small. And I still vividly remember sitting in a pram in the corner of a field being left there whilst they were picking Brussels sprouts. So yeah, that's earliest memory. Cold, I think, is the overarching feeling. But yeah, it was good times actually, even though I can't really remember it.
Yeah, I mean, grew up in the middle of nowhere. It's nice. That's a good farm. Okay. And then what is one of the kindest things someone has done for you?
I think one of them would be Dirt, really, for me. And, obviously I joined his business, the marketing agency, kind of fresh out of uni and had not really seen each other for the best part of 18 years. And he employed me off the bat and put a lot of trust in me. And then obviously when we started Northern Bloc, I was 24, 25 at the time and obviously never run a business and nothing about ice cream, and really just put a huge amount of trust and energy and responsibility into kind of my hands. And I think not so much one single act, but just a mindset on, age really wasn't a factor. It was more about I had to roll his sleeves up and get stuck in. And he really backed me 100% from early doors. And I think that's allowed us to have, a really good working relationship and a good friendship. And 5 years down the line, haven't killed each other yet, but very much kind of run the business together on a day-to-day, and his kind of kindness from the beginning has allowed that to happen. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much. Have you got any questions for me?
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
It was always as a memory, mint choc chip. As a child, it's just brings back great things for me. But I do really like ginger. I quite want to try your ginger one now. But yeah, at a push, I would have to say mint choc chip. My nan used to make ice cream, so I used to enjoy doing that with her whenever I visited. It always had a kind of bit of a treacly layer at the bottom. He used to use condensed milk and kind of boil it and stuff first, and somehow it just worked really well. That was always fun.
It's a real balancing act to make sure you enhance the nostalgia, but you also kind of create change.
Cool. All right, well, thanks so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. My goal for this podcast is to help make people happier and wiser, and I'm also working on a few other projects in the podcasting space to achieve the same thing. I run the Wiser Than Yesterday podcast with a friend, where we read and discuss a great non-fiction book a week. Talk about things like philosophy, psychology, the economy, self-improvement, and business. Books such as The Black Swan, Anti-Fragile, Invisible Women, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a great resource. Most recently, I've been building an app, Syncify. It's really to level up your podcast experience. You can connect with your friends in the app and listen to the same things. So you can listen live in real time with each other, or create shared playlists and catch up at your own pace. You learn so much more by discussing ideas with friends. It's really silly to listen alone. You can also discover and share brilliant episodes with ease without having to try and recommend podcasts in different apps and just it all getting lost and confused. So it's also good for combating isolation and mental health. I personally find social media quite antisocial, and I just don't find it easy to reach out to friends to chat for no real reason. But I do love doing things with other people, and listening to the same content means that I can naturally talk about the same things, and it just gives me that friend time without going out of my way. So I really hope that it can help you, and I just would love you to try out the beta version and help us build this. And obviously do invite your friends. It's all about friends. So you can find out more about Syncify app by going to syncifyapp.com. Thanks for listening. Congratulations on listening to a whole episode of the Growth Mindset podcast. Before you race into another podcast, try pausing. Ask yourself, what have you learned? What could you change? How will you make that change happen? Did you press pause? Knowledge is useless without action. What did you learn? What should you change? And how will you make that change happen? You can tell us what you learned by contacting us through the website, growthmindsetpodcast.com. And feel free to connect with us or our guests, or just peruse the show notes. Our Instagram is @growthmindsetpodcast, or follow me @SamJamSnaps for a daily reminder to stop using Instagram. If you enjoy random acts of kindness and want to support the show, You can support us on Patreon or leave us a review on iTunes, and you'll make me very happy. And with that, keep learning and keep growing.